Hello and welcome to an all-new QuintelDesigns.com HD video tutorial. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Quintel, and today we're going to be making a military-style video game logo for a video game we're making up called Final Hour 4. And in this tutorial, we'll show you how to make that text effect and get an overall military look and feel for use in pretty much anything you want. We're using it for a video game cover in this particular case. So, let's jump into Photoshop and get started. First, we'll make a new document. File, New. Let's give it some generic dimensions. 1000 for the width and 800 for the height. Let's call this Final Hour 4. Yeah, that's right, there's plenty of these games. They're so popular. The first thing you can do is select two dark colors, any two you want, and throw down a background. Nice little gradient background like that'll do fine. Maybe even right here. Perfect. Now that you have a background, create a new layer, and we'll get going on making our text. Now there's a font that comes pretty standard on most computers called Stencil Standard. Stencil Standard already has pretty much the look we're going for. So when I type out here, Final Hour, and blow it up with Control T and holding down Shift to scale it, look here, there's Final Hour. We're done. No, I'm just kidding. So now we want to give our stenciled out, maybe military painted on text, the extra grit grime treatment. We're going to do that now. First, let's open up our internet browser. We're going to do an image search for Rust. This image looks like it's going to be perfect. Copy the image and paste it right into Photoshop. Now that you've pasted this into Photoshop, Control and click on the layer that it was pasted into, edit, and define it as a pattern. And let's call that Rust. Now, you should be able to delete that layer entirely. And the reason why we defined it as a pattern is when we go here to our paint bucket, we want to be able to choose pattern, and there's our Rust. So when we paint that on, there it is back there, and it even looks like a plate. We'll put this on multiply mode and scale back its opacity. That adds a little depth, maybe a little variety to our background. Now we're actually using that for the text. So let's go into selecting our Final Hour layer and going to Effects, Blending Options. Our Blending Options palette is where all this is going to happen. First, we want to bevel and emboss this text. Crank up the size, and turn it from smooth to chisel hard. You can see here that cranking up the size will make it so that these are fully chiseled out pieces of text. Now another important contour thing to remember here is anti-alias. These lines need to be smooth. You don't want to see harsh pixels in this logo. It doesn't look very good. Now, we're going to add a texture to that. And the default texture is these bubbles, don't ask me why. And you can see you can pick our rust now from the pattern. So now this has a bumpy finish to it. Dial down the depth until it's only making small part marks in the letters, which is exactly what we want. Then we're going to give this a color overlay. Our color overlay is going to be almost a gold, if you will. Something like, yeah, khaki. That's actually perfect. Very military looking. We're going to give it an inner glow as well. This inner glow, first way you can switch it to multiply mode. Choose the color and pick one of the darker colors you see in the logo. This final hour here. And just go khaki. Make it a really dark, a darker brown. Make the size a little larger on that. And the opacity you can bring up. Good. Now we'll give this a little depth with a drop shadow. Made larger. Less opacity on that. You don't need it too harsh. We'll bring the distance out. And finally, once you have all this looking like how you want it, we're going to give it a new style, and we'll call it Final Hour Text. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to remember this in case we ever want to use it again. So now our Final Hour Text is looking pretty good. We're going to make a new type layer, put a 4 there. Control T the 4. Drag it out, make it big. I like to slant it to the side. It looks a little bit better that way. Good. Final hour goes over a little bit. Before overlapping the R and underneath the previous layer. Once our 4 is behind that layer, we're going to make this look like a spray painted out onto the hull number. The way we're going to do that is go to Effects and our blending options. And our fill opacity will go all the way down to 0. That'll make it appear to disappear. But now with an outer glow, choose, say, a yellow for this. We'll make the size a lot larger. Put it on normal mode. Do things like dial up the range. We'll also give it a little bit of an inner glow. Those lines are a little too perfect for me. Give it a similar yellow. And this opacity, we're going to make sure it's way down. Normal mode again. About 20% for that. We'll hit OK. So now our Final Hour 4 logo is complete, and it's ready to be placed into our video game document. So, again, let's use that handy Google image search and look for something like, I'm a big Xbox 360 fan, Xbox 360 game cover. And looking here, we've got Transformers. Perfect. I can't wait to cut out that crappy game. Copy that. Let's go to New Document in Photoshop. Paste it in. And now we like this little teen logo here. So let's zoom in, copy it, and move it to a new layer. Rated T for teen. So I just did a Control C, Control V, and you can see here a new layer. I'll even call it teen, so you can see. Then from our old page, we're going to drag this document and detach it from the window. Make a copy of our background layer. And then with all of our layers selected, drag those right in to our other document. And you can see here that the original logo doesn't fit the exact dimensions of our Xbox 360 game cover. First, before we deselect these, we're going to create a new group from layers and call it cover art. Hit OK. Bring it underneath the teen logo. That has to sit on top. And here's how we'll take care of our ratio issue. First, we'll take our background and its rust, select those both, right-click, and convert to a smart object. Now that combined both of those, so we get to keep the detail, and we get to use it as one object. Hit Ctrl-T, and if you have Snap-on as an option, you should snap this right to the sides of your window and up to the top of the 360 logo here. Final hour, we can Ctrl-T that and place it appropriately. Right about there is good. And let's bring our 4 here. Let's make it even bigger. They really want to know which final hour they're playing. Finally, to complete our video game cover, we're going to look for something nice and generic, but also warmongering. Let's do Mushroom Cloud. I'm sure we'll get, yes, plenty of fun results from that. And just looking for a really good one here. This may actually be perfect. The first one, copy that, and right above that background layer, we're going to paste it in. We're also going to convert this to Smart Object, so we don't lose any of its detail if we want to scale it back. Blow it up. Fit it to our document just right. And now if you zoom in, you're going to see we lose a lot of detail. So a good way to keep it keep it looking good, we're going to change the blend mode so we get our background involved as well. And just cycling through some of these modes. There's no one I recommend. I think I saw one a few back that worked just right. Lighter color is fine. And we're going to filter, blur, Gaussian blur it a little bit. Give it just the right amount so that its details are feathered and we keep the high quality box art that we had before. We'll even bring down its opacity to say 50%. There it is. Final Hour 4 is ready to hit store shelves, and you're ready to go and make it on your own. That's it for us. Go have fun and make your own video covers, and even submit the ones you make to quinteldesigns.com, and we can I'll take a look and discuss them. Have a good one, guys.